Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we break down event handling step by step and show you how to take full control of user interactions in your React applications. Whether you're building interactive forms, dynamic UIs, or complex applications, handling events like clicks for submissions or key presses is a skill you can't ignore. If you're new here in the channel, we'll break down web development concepts into simple, easy to understand lessons, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future videos. Let's get started. Now we have this question of what is exactly event handling. In simple terms, event handling is process of capturing user actions like clicks, maybe if we have some buttons on our web page or application, or we have some input that user types something in that, or if it's form when user submits that form, or let's say we have simple box when our mouse go inside of that, go outside of that, when we click on this, when we unclick on this, and other things. So we want to capture all of these actions that user can do and respond to them based on what we want. This could mean updating the UI, sending data to server or backend, or triggering animations that we have. So let's jump in our code. Here we got our simple React application with our main.jsx and our app.jsx just like this. And we are running our application right here. As you can see, if we make any changes, it's applied to here too. So let's create simple event handler by a button and click. So what we can do is here, let's say we have our div at the first right here. Then inside of this, we're going to have this button. Let's say it simply has this click word inside of it. And for handling event, which we want to, when we click on this, something happens. Here at the function of app that we have, we're going to create another function, which is going to be our handler. So we're going to create this event handler just right here, which I'm using arrow function right here. Now, inside of this, let's say we want to have simple alert of this text right here. So how we should connect this into this button? What we're going to do is have attribute like thing right here on our button, which is this OnClick, which this is very similar to plain JavaScript and HTML, but instead of putting functions name like that in HTML, we're going to use this curly braces right here and then the name of our function and our event handler right here. Pay attention, we can have multiple event handler. For example, we can have some for click events, some for example, change event handlers, which we're going to cover moments later. But now here you can see we got this event handler right here. Pay attention, you should not put these parentheses right here and you should not call your function and handler right here, because if you use this, when you refresh your page, it's going to run at the first, as you can see right here. And when you click on that, nothing is going to happen. So pay attention, this should be only the name of the handler and not parentheses after that. And now when we got this, if we click on our button, you can see we got this alert of text right here. And it doesn't matter how many times we click, we still got this thing. But another way that you can use this kind of things right here, instead of having this kind of event handler, you can have inline event handlers, which here you need to use this arrow function right here, and then inside of this, you can put your code. You can have your multiple lines of code if you have these curly braces right here, or it's only one line, you can use just like this, which we're going to use the symbol and alert of this inline handler. And now this time again, if we refresh, nothing happens because here we create the function and not calling that. And if we click, we're going to have this text that we put right here. But pay attention, this is more complex to use and handle. And if you want to control events and handle them, this is better way of having the handler function separated from the tag in another where, and then put the name of that function and that handler right here. But another thing that you might have is how we can pass arguments into this handler. For example, let's say we want to grab some text right here and we want to alert our dynamic text right here. Let's say here we got two buttons, which first one is going to give us text 1 and the next one is going to give us text 2. And let's actually have this BR tag right here, so these two be in separate lines. And here you can see if we put these parentheses right here and pass the string that we want this to show, you can see it's going to start and run this when our page loads. And this is not the way that we want to do this. So instead of this, we're going to use another function right here, as you can see, and in that function, we're going to run this function. What I mean is, think of here we got another function with the name of passVars. And here we're going to create this function, and inside of this, we're going to pass this event handler. And when we want to run, it's going to be something like of this passVars, which we're going to run this simple function, but this itself is going to call this var handler right here. So again, this function handles our event, but not directly. And this is not the way that we're going to do. We're going to create function right here, as you saw earlier, and here we pass the name of our handler. And here we can pass what text that we want. And as same as this, we can do the same thing right here too. So we're going to have this arrow function, again, this event handler, and let's say here we got text number 2. And now you can see if we click on the button number 1, we got this text, and if we click on button number 2, we got this text appearing. But React supports many event types beyond just OnClick, which we're going to cover some of the more common ones now, starting with OnChange. And we're going to have this OnChange event in our forms and inputs. So here, let's say we got this inputs right here, which has the type of text, and we want to control the event of OnChange, which we're going to create this OnChange right here and pass the handler that we want right here. Of course, you can create another function right here to handle OnChange, which is going to be simple function. Let's say we have the name to change handler, and inside of this, you can simply alert this changed word that we have. And when we have any change on our input, we want this change handler to run. And now you can see it's not going to run because we have not changed anything. But as soon as we put anything right here in our input and change that, it's going to run this and give us this changed alert. Pay attention, if we remove this, again, this change is going to be run because we're changing that. So at the first, we have this empty. Let's say we put this character of A here. We got this change, and let's add another A. Again, we got this change. If we remove one, again, we got that. And if we remove the first A2, again, we got this change word appearing. Another thing that we can have here after this input, we're going to have our OnSubmit, which we're going to use on our forms. So let's say we have our simple form with this input of type text, and actually let's add placeholders here so we can see the difference. Here is our OnChange, and here we want to check our OnSubmit event. Here, let's add another break right here so we separate them. But here for handling submit events, we need to have another input right here with the type of submit. And let's make the value submit to. And now let's actually remove this change handler right here. And we're going to use this event handler for all of our events. Let's make this one too. And let's check that if we change anything right here. We got this object because we passed some variables here, so we get rid of those and we print simple this text. And here we don't want to use these items too, so let's make that simple event handler with not passing parameters. Now you can see if we change again, we got this text. And let's come to this on submit. For this, again, we need to pass our event handler. But pay attention, we're not going to create our attribute in these input fields, but we're going to create that in this form. So here we're going to have our OnSubmit right here, and we pass the handler that we have. Let's say here we got our event handler. And now if we do anything right here, nothing is going to have changed and called because we don't have OnChange here. But if we click the submit button, it's going to come and run this OnSubmit, which has this event handler right here, which tells us and alerts text into us. If we click, you can see that we got this text right here. After these items, we're going to have some handlers about our mouse and not inputting and clicking. So for that, we're going to create simple div right here, which has some styles here too. So let's actually create object of style right here. So we pass the name of this object into there. We have this style name and pass it right here. And let's do other things right here. We want the background to be, let's say, this blue, the width to, let's say, 100 pixel, height to be 50 pixel, and I think this is enough. And let's have another break after our form, so we got some space right here too. Now for this, we're going to cover several items. First one we're going to talk about is OnMouseOver, which is going to be run when our mouse goes inside of this box and this div that we have. So it's going to run at this moment which our mouse enters the box. And for that, what we need to do is having this OnMouseOver just like this. And again, here we put the name of our handler, which is event handler that we got right here. Now, if you see, if we come inside of this, our text is going to be run. And pay attention, it's going to run just this. And if we move inside of our box, it's not going to do anything. And if we move out, again, nothing is going to happen. So this is going to be our OnMouseOver right here. Let's actually change the color of the text too. So we make the color to this white. And let's fix these appearance a little bit. Now you can see when we come inside of this, we got our alert right here. Now after this item, we got another one that we're going to talk. Let's actually have another VR right here too. And this is going to be called when we are inside of the box and we want to go outside of that box, which is going to be this OnMouseOut. And let's change the text here too. So you can see if we come here, nothing is going to happen. But at the moment we leave this box, we're going to see this text. Pay attention, when we go inside, nothing happens. And when we go out, it's going to be trick. And after these two items, we got another one right here, which is OnMouseDown. And this is when we want to come here and hold our click mouse button right here. You can see here, if we move, nothing is going to happen. But as soon as I click, it's going to give us this alert right here. And pay attention, this is when we clicking and not holding. So with simple click, it's going to be triggered. But very similar to this one, we got another one, which is OnMouseUp. And this is basically the opposite of that. When we click while we holding, nothing is going to happen. But when we release that button, it's going to give us this result. So when we click, nothing happens. And when we release the button, it's going to give us the alert. And pay attention, we can use all of these items in single div too. For example, let's say here we got another div right here, which let's say the text is going to be all. And here we got bunch of events and handlers right here. So let's make these in separate lines and let's actually remove this. So we got base of nothing. Here first we have our OnMouseOver. OnMouseOver, we want our event handler to handle that. We got another one, which is OnMouseOut. Another one is going to be OnMouseDown. And the other one is going to be OnMouseUp. And pay attention, we can have different things than this event handler itself. So let's actually use our inline handlers right here to change these items. First, we get rid of these items. We create our arrow function right here, as you know, and then we simply alert here the name of the event that we got. So let's copy these names right here, and we simply paste these right here. And when we come into our last div, which is this all, pay attention, when we enter this, we got OnMouseOver activated. When we start clicking, we got OnMouseDown activated. When we release, we got OnMouseUp activated. And when we move outside of the box, we got OnMouseOut activated. And this is how you can manage your events. But another two events that are very important, which are again related to inputs, let's actually comment out our divs right here, and again how our input right here. And here we got two other things that we're going to use. First, let's have these placeholders so we can see the difference. The first one is KeyDown, and the second one is going to be KeyUp. And what are these? It's going to run when we press any key in our keyboard, and that is the event that is going to trigger. So for doing that, here we got this OnKeyDown, and again we're going to use our event handler right here. So if we come here, if we press this A, as you can see, we got this result. As same as OnMouseDown, it's going to trigger when we start pressing that key, and not going to change when we releasing that. But OnKeyUp is the opposite of that, and it's going to activate when we release the key. So here we got this OnKeyUp for that one. Again, we're going to use our event handler that we created, and this time you pay attention, if I hold and never release, it's not going to change. But as the moment I release this, it's going to be run like this. Pay attention, I'm going to hold this W, and when I release, I got this alert coming up. Before we wrap up, here are some best practice that I want to talk about these items. First one is to use arrow functions for clear code and avoiding issues and having lots of bugs. You can see this is very more simpler to handle and work with. And second one is to avoid inline functions for complex logics. You can see here we got our inline handlers right here that we used in the last box that we got, which is all, and you can see we created this on these lines. But if we want to use our application with complex logic, it's not a good way to do this way. Instead of this, it's better to create several handlers and several functions about each event that you want, and you simply here pass the name of that handler that you have created. For example, let's say you have this 4 functions of MouseOver, MouseOut, MouseDown, and MouseUp, and you simply have this handler at the last, and you create these functions above of our code right here as we created this event handler, and then you pass the name. And this is actually one of the best ways and good ways that you can do to manage your codes and applications. And now you know how to handle events in React. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into conditional rendering and how to have our dynamic rendering based on what we want in our UI. And if this video was helpful, please give a like and subscribe so don't miss the rest of our crash course, and comment below whatever opinion or question that you might have, and I'll answer them as soon as possible.